Hi, today we're getting real. Yes, conflict between sales and tech isn't the problem. It's how you handle it that matters. So, how do you turn that sales versus tech tension into growth? I know this is a common area, Michael. I think in all the years where we've either worked together or had the chance to collaborate on something, we've always seen that there's a little bit of conflict between the different groups. Um, how how do we kind of bridge that gap? I think, we really are talking about two different personalities, right? Tech likes to have that structure, likes to have that stability, where sales is pretty flexible and wants to bend to whatever the client wants, right? So how do you manage that tension between the two?
Yeah. I think acknowledging it the way you just did is a great first step for organizations to be like, hey, just a reminder, we're all on the same team, right? Something to that effect. Um, we've talked a lot about exposing the challenges that each team faces for each other so that we're respectful in our conversations. Um, and then one of the things that I've tried to overcome is there is a perception of the technology team that, let's say, it's slow, or low quality, or the feature set isn't exactly what's expected. And that perception causes friction in the interactions. How could it not? You're coming into a meeting and your baseline with me is, I don't really think you're doing a great job, right? Like, that's going to make me defensive, and it's going to make me not want to be your partner because you have these opinions. Now, let's shift it a little bit and let's make that a metrics based conversation, right? Where my partner says to me, my perception is low quality, low velocity, um, and clunky deployments, let's say, right? And that gives me an opportunity to say, well, I have metrics to show you this is what we've done over the last 3 quarters. This is our bug list. This is the number of features we've deployed. This is the feedback we're getting from customers right now. Now we pivoted it from some, you know, I think this to, well, there is data. Does it support what you think? And I'm not saying that I use the data to, uh, um, to tell my partner they're wrong. I'm just saying, let's use the data and incorporate it in the conversation. Yes, you have that perception. I have to change your perception. One of the ways I'm going to do this is by providing this data and how I collect it. But I don't expect you to pivot your position right now. I want you to learn how I measure it. And then on the next one we do, the next big feature we roll out, let's work together to see if my metrics really do show you the quality of our productivity. And so that you're on board by saying, yeah, those metrics are good. Because frequently people will look at my metrics and they'll just be like, they'll just seem too abstract to them. And so I want them to see them as it relates to something that they're really close to. And, you have to be willing to appreciate that the perception comes from someplace, right? So I have to be willing to say, like, they have the perception for a reason. And the other people need to be flexible to say that while their perception may be one thing, that time can change that. It's not always going to be that. Um, and so, we talk a lot about how we can collaborate. Demo days are a great way of doing it. Um, I really like to talk to the business leaders who either use my software or sell my software. I don't always want that to be intermediated by somebody like a product person sometimes does that, right? A head of product will tell a head of engineering, and my teams mostly deal with the product team. But every once in a while, I really want to hear it from the business teams, meaning I really want to talk to somebody who's a hands-on user of the service so that I'm getting their feedback also. It improves kind of a 360 view of what we're doing. Um, you know, and it's nobody's fault, but all of our views can sometimes be very, narrow. and we don't see enough. And by allowing us to, in a structured way, get feedback so that we're all hearing the same messaging allows that collaboration between tech and ops, tech and sales. I mean, one of my favorite examples of this is the sales team will say, we want features rolled out every week, new features every week. And I'll say, I may be able to do that. What does ops think? Ops doesn't want new features every week. Ops doesn't want to have to train, update, ensure they're not, maybe their customer support might not even be have enough people to manage the feedback from a new feature every. We might need to do monthly releases or quarterly releases. These decisions aren't because I'm good or bad at what I do. We have to recognize that there's more to what we do than just deploying stuff. There is an impact to deploying stuff. And so it's interesting because people love the idea of continuous deployment, which I do love. Um, but there are reasons for us to be cautious about how we roll things out so that our customers can use them right. And that comes out if we're all working together.
Exactly. And you know what? I mean, bottom line, it's when the teams know the why behind decisions, they'll buy in. Right. So to your point, like where you said, okay, did you hear that directly from a client, or is this what you're thinking? To paraphrase what you said earlier, I think that's a key issue or challenge. So it will help a team understand why this might not be the first choice, right? So you need to have that clear communication around like what's market reality versus what are the technical constraints. To your point, yeah, it might be really cool from a sales perspective to have a new feature roll out every week, but then operationally, or also even from the client perspective, that might not be what they really want to see or don't have the capability to really support. So friction is always going to exist, but it's a matter of how do you communicate and create that environment where you can understand where each party is coming from and what are the challenges associated with, going down one path versus another path.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So, I would say as our call to action, what's the biggest tension you've seen between sales and operations? Share it in the comments and let us be able to learn from each other and also come up with ideas of how to resolve it.